continue our learning on the Zoom platform. We are in the middle of a three-part series called The Hidden Agenda. Yesterday we discussed the hidden agenda, which was Erev Rav. Tonight's installment of the hidden agenda is going to deal with the leaders. Before we get started in this very, very interesting lesson, I'd like to give an honorable mention. Actually, I'd like to give a dedication to this. This lesson should be to the Ilu Nishmat of Menachem Mendel ben Hanan, Dvor Feiga bat Shmuel, David ben Zohara, Moshe Levi ben Shoshana, Shmuel ben Anmuma, Yaniv ben Rina, Tzion ben Zechariah, Rav Ezra Labaton, Sarah Ita bat Shmuel, Abraham and Freddy ben Moshe, Mordechai Aron ben Zev, and Daniel ben Juna. Ezrat Hashem, that their neshama have Nilu Nishmat. Also, I'd like to give an honorable mention to the following people that should have success in their zivug. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufriya Gitzilatecha Yidbarach Shemo Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Be'ezrat Hashem, that there be a successful zivug for Inbal Bat Jacqueline, Bat-Kem Bat Jacqueline, Yehuda Lev Ben Mendel. Also for the Refuah Shelema of Esther Bat Vishna, Ishaya Yosef Ben Zari, and Rachel Bat Zion Tehila, Betoch Klal Cholei Amo Yisrael. And this should also be to the success of Stacy Esther Bat Miriam and her boys, Shalom and Eliyahu. This should also be to the success of Guy Ben Dina, Michael Citron and his family, Henry Gordeski, Abraham and Yosef Sakal, and Jonathan and Julie Yerima. And for Anna and Yehuda that are here with me on Zoom, and for all the people that are with us on Facebook Live. Okay, let's get started. So just to recap last night's lesson very quickly, in order that we should have some sort of a background to what it is that we are going to discuss tonight. Last night we spoke about the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude of people that followed the Jews out of Egypt. And we know that they lived on the outskirts of the camp. In other words, if you want to imagine the Jewish people, they are traveling as a group in a camp. The Mishkan is in the middle. You have the Levi surrounding it, and all the tribes according to the specific placement that they're in. And on the outskirts of the encampment, we have the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude. The reason that they're going to be within the encampment is because they're not part of a tribe. They can't travel with a tribe. They don't belong to any tribes. So they were on the outskirts of the camp. And basically, throughout the time that they were with the Jewish people in the desert, they wanted to rebel. They wanted to backtrack to their old ways. They were a mixed multitude of people. That there were, some of them were wizards, sorcerers. They followed black magic, witchcraft. Some of them came from other nations. You know, there were a bunch of people that went with the winning team. And as this group of people that went with the winning team, the Jews and the Jewish God, and they finally discover and they finally realize that, oh, now that we've been on Har Sinai, now that we are here right now, we see that there are 613 mitzvot, there's laws of kashrut, there's laws of how to dress, what to eat, what to say, how to act. It was too much for them. It was way too much for them. And they wanted to backtrack to their old ways. They want to go back not into a spiritual life, but into a mundane life, into a life that has to do all with the physicality. And their whole way of reverting back to their old ways was masked, was covered by a plot. And many different ways we see they had many different plots. Last night we discussed how they complained about the food, and how they missed the watermelon, the cucumbers, the onions, the garlic. But in reality, what they were trying to say is, get me out of here. Send me back to Egypt. Take me back to what I'm used to. Take me back to my comfort zone. Take me back to where I'm comfortable and I don't have to do anything spiritual. Now, that was last week, but we know that they were constantly infiltrating Am Yisrael with foreign agendas. We saw them earlier mentioned with the Egel, where they brought back idolatry, just as the Jewish people are just 40 days from receiving the Torah and Har Sinai. They're already talking about let's worship an Eged and all the reasons that they gave behind it, the golden calf. Later on, we see that they were mitonenim, they were complaining. Oh, we're working so much. How can we walk 3 days journey without rest? In reality, Hashem wanted to bring them to Israel as quickly as possible. They started to complain about that. And just following right after that, they started to complain about what? They complained about the food. What about the food? What about we missed the fish, we missed the meat, all these different things. And through the process, every single time that they infiltrated the Jewish people, the Jewish nation, they were able to convince a group of people to believe in them. Even the Jewish people that never got the watermelon, the cucumbers, or the onions, or the garlic were convinced, yeah, we also miss it. And the people that did not worship any idolatry in Egypt, yeah, they worshipped the golden calf. And we see that they had the power to convince people to believe in their movement. And each time, even though that they succeeded, the end result is that they actually failed, and every time they got killed. And we did link yesterday's learning of the Erev Rav to today's current events. How we see that a lot of people put up a front that they really just want to go back to Egypt because they missed the old ways, because they want the food that was over there, they wanted the freedom that was over there. But in reality, they just want to break away from the spirituality, from the 613 mitzvot that they received in Har Sinai. They wanted to break away from it. So even though they presented one thing, in reality, they had meaning for something else. Similarly, in today's current events, we were talking about how George Floyd killing is on posters, and everybody's talking about George Floyd, but we see that this whole movement got hijacked by a bunch of other groups that are hijacking this particular movement or this particular event and turning it into a hidden agenda. We talk about different groups that are living on the outskirts of society or hidden within it. We see that a lot of the people that are come into the news, we didn't know that there were so many anarchists around. We didn't know that the Black Lives Movement was going to have so much violence connected to it. And each one has hijacked this event into their own, let's say, to their own purposes, in order to fit their own agendas, their hidden agendas. Having said that, we see that the hidden agendas throughout time got revealed. When it took an extra week or an extra 2 weeks or an extra 3 weeks for the truth to surface, we see that Black Lives Matters are staunch supporters of anti-Israel rhetoric, that they have no problem teaming up with BDS and getting together with anything that's anti-Israel. We see even that the BDS movement is supporting blacks in order to gain reciprocal support for Palestine. Very, very interesting. They have no problem jumping into the game of, yeah, we support you, but in return, don't forget, we have our own movement. Please support us as well. We see that Antifa, with their anarchist mentality, living underneath the fabric of society, ready to strike at any given time. We didn't see that. We didn't see that coming until all of a sudden, they also jumped. Most of them are white supremacists, or most of them are people that are not so much into society and into equality, but rather Aryanism. And we see that they are jumping into it as well. Why? They see that they hijacked it, a hidden opportunity, hidden agenda for them to cause some damage. And we see George Soros, one of the richest people in the world, also saw this an opportunity, completely funding some of the violence that's going on right now. The Democrats, people that we have in power, and we thought that we can trust our senators, our people that are in office, and we see that just when we need them the most, they also have a hidden agenda. This is an election year, so it's very sensitive. What do? Do we act one way or the other? Is this going to affect me being in office later on this year or not? Everybody has a hidden agenda, and the biggest hidden agenda of them all is the New World Order. As we said, as that all these events throughout the world are being masterminded by some key elite people that are right now totally enjoying what's going on in the world because it fits their agenda. It fits their hidden agenda. Even as of recent, a lot of strong support is coming from Muslims internationally to African Americans. It's coming very, very that almost every group is holding up this George Floyd poster, and all of them have a hidden agenda. We'll support you, but don't forget, when this whole thing blows over, don't forget to support us. It's very, very strange. It's very, very strange how a lot of different groups that come from a lot of different places are willing to jump into one specific event or one specific world energy in order to promote their hidden agendas. Even if you just focus in on one, you can find a deeper, a darker story in each one. But there's just so many layers to what's going on. So many layers. Now, that was last night's lesson. Tonight, last night's lesson, we drew it from Parashat Ba'alotecha. And in Parashat Ba'alotecha, we were able to find the story of the Mitonanim, of the Erev Rav. I wanted to continue because the inspiration for this three-part series came from the current parashiot that we're in. The parashiot that follow Ba'alotecha is Shlach Lecha and Korach. In Shlach Lecha, we have the story of the spies. And in Korach, we have the whole story of Korach and Adato. Korach and his 250 cohorts. And within these two parashiot, we're going to draw the lesson today in regards to the leaders. So let's get some Torah in. Let's get some Pesukim in order to begin to understand tonight's lesson. If we go to Parashat Shlach Lecha, the first Pesukim go like this. Shlach Lecha Anashim. I'm sorry. Vaydaber Hashem Moshe lemor. God is now speaking to Moshe and he's telling him directly. Shlach Lecha Anashim. Vayatur et Eretz Canaan asher noten livnei Yisrael. Ish echad lamate avotav yishachru kol nasi bahem. God is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, send for yourself people that will go and tour the land. Now the question here is why the use of the words Shlach Lecha? Because Hashem knows that the land is good. But if you need to check, if you need to verify, then do it for yourself. Don't do it for me. I told you that the land that I'm giving you and the Jewish people is a good land. Eretz, Zavat, Chalav, Udvash. You want to double check it? Send for yourself. And let them, Vayaturu to Eretz Canaan. Vayaturu, meaning let them go and scope out the land, take a look at the land. But however, the word Vayaturu is very similar to the word tourist. Let them go tour the land. What's the tour the land? Vayaturu et haaretz. You see that sometimes there's a lot of words that are drawn from Hebrew that are actually in other languages. Here we can see plainly in English when it's Shlach Lecha Anashim Vayaturu, sent for you people to tour the land. And he tells them, so Moshe Rabbeinu does select people, and he does send them from the desert to Eretz Yisrael. And who does he send? Kulam, every single person that he sent, Anashim Rashe Bnei Yisrael Hema. They were Anashim. You have to understand that in the Hebrew language, you have to be very, it's very interesting the language that we use, or the words that we use, because each one has its own meaning. There's Anashim, is like the highest word that you can say about a person, is an Ish, because we have also Adam, and that's a lower level. Adam is like, Adam Arishon he sinned. So Adam is sometimes a person who's a sinner. Enosh is a much lower level than that. So when he says Anashim, and Rashe B'nai Yisrael, the heads of Israel, these are very, very important people. Now, when Moshe Rabbeinu sent these very important people, these heads of Bnei Yisrael, where he chose one from each tribe, so there was a total of 12 of them, it says, Vayaturu, meaning go and tour the land. What's interesting is that one time, not even one time, does it say the word meraglim, spies, in the parasha. Not even one time. I don't think it's even said one time in the Torah that there's such a word as meraglim. Yet we constantly call this parasha, Parashat HaMeraglim. Why is that? And not only that, what is the difference between a meragel, which is a spy, and somebody who goes to latur et haaretz, a tourist? In other words, what's the difference between a spy and a tourist? So it's very interesting if you just think about it. If you've ever been a tourist, right? Just like Moshe is instructing these 12 heads of tribes to go to tour the land. As a tourist, what do you look for? You look for attractions. You look for the best that the place has to offer. You're looking to have a positive experience. And not only that, you're also very indifferent on what's going on around you. So for example, if you ever go on a vacation to Orlando, what do you want to see? You want to see the best that Orlando has to offer. Disneyland, SeaWorld, all these different attractions. You're not going to go to some of the slums of Orlando to see where the killings are happening, right? You're a tourist. You're not looking for that. You're looking to tour the land, to see the best that it has to offer. A spy, on the other hand, when he goes somewhere, he doesn't look for attractions. What he looks for is weaknesses. He looks for things that are challenging for them. In other words, when a spy comes into a land, he wants to see where the enemy is weak, where the enemy is strong. What's negative about them? What's something that we can, how can we attack them? Where are their weaknesses? And not only that, a spy has a special interest. He's going there with a motive, with a plan, as opposed to a tourist who just goes to enjoy and take a look. So, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I gave you a beautiful land. Go check it for yourself. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I know Hashem. I know it's a beautiful land. You know what? Let's give him a chance to tour. Let them go take a look at it for themselves. Maybe they just want to make sure. Not a problem. But what happened? The 12 men that were chosen, instead of going there to go and tour the land, they went to spy the land. And when they went to spy the land, their vantage point changed. And you can see that Moshe Rabbeinu actually gave instructions on what to look for. If you look at Pasuk Yud Zayin, Vayishlach ota Moshe latur et eretz Canaan, ve'omar alehem, he tells them, go take a look at the land. Hayoshev alea chazaku harafeh. Is the nation that's living there, are they strong or are they weak? Hame'at imerav. Is there a lot of people or is there a small amount of people? Well, how big is the population? Not only that, haaretz haaretz asher hu yoshev ba hatovahi imra. How is the land? Is it fertile? Is it a good land or is it a bad land? And not only that, how do they live? Do they live in fortresses or is everything open? Is the land fertile, shmena, or imraza, or is it dry and bitter and withered? Hayesh ba'etz imayin. Is there a tree or not? Here Moshe Rabbeinu is not asking them to take a look if there's any trees in Israel, even though that we had a few lessons about this particular pasuk right before Rosh Hashanah, about Adam Wa'etz HaSadeh, which was a beautiful way of explaining this pasuk as well. But they say etz, Rashi tells us it's a tzaddik. Is there an etz over there? Is there a tree over there? Is there a tzaddik over there? That they have some sort of credit that they can be, or some sort of merit that they can rely on if they have a tzaddik that's living amongst them. He says, go over there, and not only that, bring from the fruits of the land. Show us the land. Now, Moshe basically gave instructions for a report of the land. Reporting of the facts. Go, take a look, and come back with just what I ask you for. Is it A? Is it B? Is it good? Is it bad? Just to give us a general report of what you're going to see when you're touring the land. However, when they came back, they didn't come back with a report, but they came back with an opinion. In other words, we sent out 12 spies. 10 of them came back with a positive report, and 10 of them came with a negative report, and 2 of them came with a positive report. So we see that there is over here a very big lack of balance. I mean, if 10 people are saying that it's negative and only 2 that are saying positive, something is off over here. Now, 10 out of 12 speaking negatively about Eretz Yisrael, the Torah says, "Hotziu dibat haaretz," spoke lashon hara about the land. On Perek Yudalet, Pasuk Aleph, says over there, "Vatisa kol ha'eda vayitnu et kolam." As soon as the entire nation heard this, they raised their voice. Vayifku ha'am balayla, and the whole nation cried that night. Now, the leaders of the tribes, these 12 representatives that won out, and 10 of them came back with a negative report, were able to convince the whole nation that Israel was bad. They were able to convince the entire Jewish nation that Israel was bad. Now, this is very, very interesting, because this is God's land. Hashem has done wonders for the Jewish people up until this point. There's no way that Hashem is going to bring us to a bad land. Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest leader of the Jewish nation, has sent us there just to take a tour. Go take a look at the beautiful places that are over there. Go to Orlando. Take pictures of Mickey. Take pictures of Epcot Center. Take pictures of SeaWorld, of Shamu. Come and show us all the beautiful things over there. Just come and report a good report. They're coming back now with a negative report on Eretz Yisrael. So let's double check their claims. Let's just see if there is a reason for us to believe that 10 out of 12. If you go to Pasuk Kafchet, in the previous perek, it says over there, "Vegam zavat chalav udvash hi v'zeh priyah." I'm sorry. "Vayisapru lo vayamru banu el haaretz asher achtanu." So they start to tell Moshe, we came to the land that you sent us over there. Vegam zavat chalav udvash hi v'zeh priyah. And the land is zvat chalav udvash. It's a land of milk and honey. And it's fruit. They brought a sample fruit. So the question is, why would they start off with zvat chalav udvash? That seemingly is a good report, right? It's a land of milk and honey. So Rashi tells us, be very, very careful, because all lies need a little truth to be convincing. In other words, they're about to go off into a huge lie about Eretz Yisrael. They're going to start speaking lashon hara about the land of Israel. But first, they're going to give us a little bit of truth. And that's how it is. If you ever want to, sometimes people, when they try to convince you of a big lie, they have to sprinkle it with some truth on top. And that's how they started. Zvat chalav udvash. They give us a little bit of truth to start. You go to the following pasuk. What does it say? Amalek yoshev ba'aretz hanegev. And by the way, remember Amalek? They're also sitting in the land in the south. Now, why would they mention? We know that Amalek does not live in Israel. Amalek lives in a different place altogether. Even though there was a little bit of Amalek sprinkled in the south part of Israel, living there at the moment, why would they do that? Why would they first open up their speech, their report of Eretz Yisrael about Amalek? In order to instill fear. They're like, oh, remember Amalek? Remember as soon as we got out of Egypt, right after the splitting of the sea, there was one nation that came and fought with us. They didn't care. They weren't scared of God. Remember that Amalek? They're like, oh, yeah, we remember those bad guys. Well, they're living in Israel right away to instill fear. So we see they sprinkled some truth on their lie, and then they right away started to inject fear into the hearts of the Jewish people that Amalek is in Eretz Yisrael. Furthermore, you can see that they were smart. They were smart. They proceeded their entire pitch and report with some very good moves. One, sprinkling some truth on some lies, and secondly, to instill fear. Now, the fact that they were smart is even hinted on the first, in the second pasuk of the parasha, where it says, "Vaydaber Hashem Moshe lemor, shlach lecha anashim." If you take the words Shelach lecha anashim. And you take the last letter of each word. That's called Sofeh Tevot. There are ways of learning out things in the Torah from Rashi Tevot and Sofeh Tevot. Sometimes if you take the first letter of each word and combine it together, it puts a word together that gives us a hint to understand what's going on. And then sometimes you can take the last letter and other letters, many different ways of learning on the Torah. For this particular part, we're going to take the last letter of each word. It says, Shelach lecha anashim. Shelach, the last letter is chet. Lecha is chaf. Anashim is mem. Chaf, I'm sorry. Chet, chaf, mem spells out the words chacham, smart, wise. Shlach lecha anashim, sent for you people. What kind of people? Chachamim, smart people. Why would that be? Because Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to send the best of the best, the people that are going to be able to give the best possible report of Eretz Yisrael. So now, let's double check the claim of these smart people, these Chachamim. It says, Ha'am ki chazaku, that the strong nation, that the people that live in Israel is a strong nation. They're going to be like a tough fight for us to win. They continue to say that the Eretz ochelet yoshvea, it consumes its people. Why? Well, let's just do the reports. That's the claim. That so the Am Chazak, Ochel Yoshvea, the people are dying. They also report that the Bnei Anak are living over there, that the giants are living in Israel. And Be'enenu Kechagavim, when we would walk around Eretz Yisrael, we would look like small, tiny grasshoppers in their eyes. That is their claim. This is the story of the Meraglim. That's the report that they gave. Now, in order to understand this next part of the lesson, we're going to go to that classic example of seeing a cup that's filled with water halfway. Now, there are two ways to look at that cup. The cup is either half full or half empty. If somebody tells me that the cup is half full, they're right. And if somebody tells me that the cup is half empty, they're also right. Nobody is lying. Everybody's saying the truth. What's the difference between seeing the cup half full or the cup half empty? It's your personal vantage point that decides if you see things positively or negatively, whether you're an optimistic person or a pessimistic person. So obviously, if you look at the cup and you see it half full, you're an optimist. You see things in a positive light. If you see that the cup is half empty, you're seeing it in a negative light. You're a pessimist. Now, why would that be? When a person is lacking in their life, in different parts of their life, when they constantly feel that there's a void, everything that they see in their life, they see it from a vantage point of lacking. But if you are fulfilled, if you are happy, you are able to see things in a positive way of life, in an optimistic way of life. So actually, when you see a cup half full or half empty, it all depends on where you're at in your life. Are you fulfilled or are you lacking? So when Moshe Rabbeinu said, send anashim chachamim, let's bring back that word that we just learned, the word chacham. What does the word chacham stand for? Hatzi kos maleh. If you take the chet, the chaf, and the mem, they spell out now Hatzi kos maleh. Who's a chacham? Who's smart? A person that sees the cup half full. A person who's positive, who's optimistic, who sees the good in the world, not the bad. And here we see the meraglim, as we call them, as they went to Israel. We wanted them to go and be chachamim, positive, being optimistic, seeing the good that's in the land. But in reality, they were lacking something within them, and because of that, they saw everything negatively. And in a minute, we'll see what is it that they were lacking. What was their thing, their void that they felt that they had to come and report it in that vantage point. But again, let's go back and double check their claims. When they say, let's review it. When they say ha'am ki chazaku, that the nation is strong. Okay, that's true. They didn't lie. The nation was strong. But on the other hand, Hashem fights our wars. What's the difference how strong they are? Hashem just took us out of Egypt. Hashem just made us win the war with Amalek. Hashem is protecting us. What's the difference if they're strong, if they're not strong? We're covered. Let's go to their second claim. When it says that they saw a lot of deaths. Yeah, the truth was that it's true. They didn't lie. That there were a lot of deaths. The time that the Meraglim went into Eretz Yisrael, all they saw is funeral processions, people just crying, and people are dying. And not only that, one of the biggest funerals to ever be happened at that time, because there was a funeral of Eov. Eov was a righteous man that lived amongst those the people, and when he died, there was a big funeral procession for him. So that's true. It did seem like a lot of people are dying, but that's the way you saw it. But on the other side, on the flip side, if you were optimistic, if you see the cup half full, you would see that, oh, this is great. This keeps them busy. While we're touring the land, everybody is busy burying the dead. Nobody's going to pay attention to us. How much better is that for us? It's actually to our advantage that they're preoccupied with something else rather than paying attention to us. There's a positive side to it. When they had the claim that Bnei Anak, that there were the giants living in the land of Israel, that's true too. They didn't lie. But they tried to instill fear in the Jewish people, and they did. They succeeded because the giants were living in the land. So what? They're no match to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They're no match to Moshe Rabbeinu. They're no match to what we have going on. There was no reason to fear them. Their last claim, which was, and in our eyes we seemed as grasshoppers, it's true when you have a huge giant in front of you that is standing 2, 3, 4 flights tall, and you are just, a tiny little human. You might seem like a little insect in their eyes, but when they said over here, we saw ourselves as insects in their eyes, there it was projection. They were projecting their feeling. In other words, they felt minute and minuscule and frail and tiny in the eyes of these big giants. But in reality, that small little being, that little human being in front of that giant, has Hashem in back of him. That should have been no fear again. So that's the projection of their fears, their projections of their lack of emunah and lack of faith in the situation and in Hashem and Moshe, their leader. So we see that they projected their personal opinion in the report of Israel. They didn't go there as tourists. They ended up going there as spies. Now, why would that be? Why would 10 out of 12 have such a negative view of Eretz Yisrael? Why was it that 2 people were able to see the beauty of the land and yet 10 people not? A large majority of that group. And the reason for that has to do with what we just learned. They had a negiyah. In Hebrew, it's called negiyah, meaning they had a personal interest in bringing back a negative report. They had a special interest in bringing in that Lashon Hara in Eretz Yisrael, or to bring that report that they brought back. And there's 2 ways to do it. I mean, a lot has been said on how you can actually learn the outlook that the Meraglim had, but there are 2 viewpoints. One in favor and one not in favor. I'll bring the first one, which is the kaf zchut, the favorable opinion of why they would say that about Eretz Yisrael. So you can imagine the Jews right now are 40 years in the desert, and they've been in the desert and they've been taken care of. They had the heavenly food from the heavenly bread from the Shamayim, the man. They had Be'er Biryam, the rolling rock. They had Ananei Kavod, the clouds of glory that are covering them. They had Moshe Rabbeinu as a leader. They had this spiritual life. They were really living the most ideal Jewish life. You can be super close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the best rabbi that you can have ever as your rabbi. You're all protected. All you're doing is learning Torah all day long. And they said, why would we leave that? We want to stay there. We don't want to go into the land. When we go into the land, we're going to have to work the land. That's going to be physical life. We want to stay in that high spiritual place. They didn't want to leave this bubble that they were in the desert. Okay, you know what? I could learn it that way. You know, that's a nice way of thinking about it. You know, just learning Torah all day long, being in this protected bubble in the desert. Moshe Rabbeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they didn't want to leave that. Going into Israel, they would have to have a different life altogether. Okay, tough school. However, on the flip side, you can learn it that in the desert, there were Nesi'im. In the desert, there were Anashim. They were the elitist of Am Yisrael. And we see that over here in Israel, what's going to be? They don't know if they were going to hold that same status. They don't know if they're going to be just regular folk. They don't know that once they cross the border, things are going to change, and maybe there's going to be new leaders, or maybe there's going to be a new voting in of Nesi'im, and they didn't want to lose their status in society. They did not want to lose their kavod that they received in their positions in the desert. And as a result, what was the result? They all died in a very strange manner. They had their tongue that came all the way down to their belly button, and then worms came on top of their tongue and ate them from the inside out. Tolaim. And it's very interesting because the reason why the tongue went all the way down to the belly button, because they spoke Lashon Hara on the belly button of the world. We know that Eretz Yisrael is Tabur Agan HaSahar. This is the place where the world got created. That's Even HaShetiyah is over there. It's a belly button of the world. And you spoke Lashon Hara about the belly button of the world. What happened? Tolaim. Tolaim. So I thought to say that Tolaim is another way of taking that word and say Taf Olim. What's Taf Olim? We know that Aleph is first, the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Taf is the last. It's the last letter of the alphabet. We know in the times of Mashiach, the people of the desert are also going to make Aliyah. They're also going to come. They're going to have the resurrection, but they're going to be the last one. So why did they get Tolaim? It's to show us that they're going to be the tough Olim. They're going to be the last ones, Olim to Eretz Yisrael in the times of Mashiach. Besides that, the rest of Am Yisrael wasn't going to see the land of Israel. Every single year on Tisha B'Av, because on the night of Tisha B'Av, they cried about the Lashon Hara that they heard from the Meraglim about Eretz Yisrael. Every Tisha B'Av, they would dig their graves, and 15,000 Jews would die every Tisha B'Av until the last year before entering Israel. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu also gave us a reason. You cried for naught. You cried for nothing on Tisha B'Av. I will give you a reason to cry on Tisha B'Av. And we know that is the destruction of the temple, the first temple and the second temple. So we see that over here wasn't such a simple thing what happened over here with the Meraglim. Leaders that had the opportunity to lead, but had the personal interest, a personal vantage point that didn't fit their personal narrative, and it affected the nation. It affected the people. It affected Am Yisrael. We'll put this one example on the side for a moment before we tie it all up at the end, and we'll go to the next parasha, Parashat Korach. Parashat Korach is very famously known for Korach and his 250 cohorts, Korach va'adato, and Datan va'aviram, that the Torah calls them Anashim, Nesi'ei Eda, Kriyei Moed, Anshe Shem. These weren't regular people. Nesi'ei Eda means, again, they were heads of tribes. Kriyei Moed, they were able to decipher the the calendar, and they were able to fix the dates of the holidays, meaning they were on a very high level of understanding, very smart. On Shem, they even knew the Shem HaMeforesh of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. These were not simple people. This was the cream of the crop of Am Yisrael at that time. And Korach gathered these 250 very important people of Am Yisrael to rebel against the greatest leader to lead the Jewish nation of all time, Moshe, and his brother Aharon, the Kohen Gadol. Their claim was, Rav Lachem, Moshe, Aharon, you took too much for yourself. You're the king, he's the president, you're the leader of the nation, he's the chief rabbi. Rav Lachem, Kol ha'edat kulam kiddushim. We're all holy, not just you. And the proof is, we also Hashem. The proof is the Shekhinah is over here. Hashem is living amongst us here in the desert. So it's not just because of you, it's all of us. Otherwise Hashem wouldn't be around us. Kulam kiddushim. So you have to say, what's going on here? What's going on here? How can they possibly say something like that? So in order to understand Korach and Ve'adato, we have to give a preface, a little bit of an introduction. We are currently now in the month of Tammuz. The month of Tammuz, 1 second. For those of you who's been taking listening to our classes, we've always had a mention of the names of a Kadosh Baruch Hu in the times of Rosh Chodesh. Every single Rosh Chodesh, there's a special name of God, meaning there's a special configuration to the Yud Kei Vav Kei. There's 12 different configurations. And if you're able to say the specific configuration of God's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, in the way that it's boggled for that month, it's as if you called out the name of God. And each month has a different one. And it's in the tefillah of Musaf, of Rosh Chodesh, it's a good time to mention it. It's a good time to deposit a heartfelt prayer in the time of Rosh Chodesh. Now, as we are now in the month of Tammuz, if you go into your Siduri, and if some of you don't have it, I just pulled mine up so you can all see. In the month of Tammuz, the Yud Kei Vav Kei configuration of a Kadosh Baruch Hu's name is Hey and Vav and Hey and Yud, which is completely the opposite of Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's the Yud Kei Vav Kei backwards. And the reason for that, well, I'll give you an example. Nisan, the name for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when it's Yud Kei Vav Kei, is Nisan. And the rabbis give us a way to remember that. The Yud Kei Vav Kei pasuk for it is Ismechu Hashamayim V'Tagel Haaretz. That's the Yud Kei Vav Kei for Nisan, and that's the pasuk that corresponds to it. On Tammuz, it's Yud Kei Vav Kei backwards. We know that Tammuz is also the month that was given to Esav. Esav is also, we know, his grandson is Amalek. And the pasuk that we have for Tammuz has to do with the Sofet Tevot, not the Rosh Tevot, the Sofet Tevot, meaning the last letter of this pasuk will give us the Yud Kei Vav Kei configuration for Tammuz. And what is it? Ze eneno shove li. This is all not worth it for me. And if you want to know where that comes from Megillat Esther, and the person who said that is Haman. Haman said, Ze eneno shove li. All this is not worth it for me. Now, why would that be the pasuk for the Yud Kei Vav Kei configuration for the month of Tammuz? Well, one is because Tammuz belongs to Esav. Esav's grandchild is Amalek. And Haman is also the great-great-grandson of Amalek. Ze eneno shoveli. Why would Haman say that all this is not worth it for me? Because you have to understand that Haman was second in command to Ahashverosh. He was one of the wealthiest people to ever live. He found one of the treasure houses in Israel where he robbed it and he took it. Not only that, he was very highly respected in all of Shushan and all of the 120 countries of Ahasuerus. But furthermore, everybody would bow down to him. Every single person would bow down to Haman. And yet, when Mordechai was the only Jew that would not bow down to him, what did he say? All this is not worth it for me. Not the money, not the stature, not being the second in command, not the whole world is bowed down to me. None of it is worth it if Mordechai doesn't bow down to me. Meaning this guy had everything that any person would ever want, and in his eyes it was worthless unless one thing happened, which is Mordechai bowed down to him. How is that connected to our lesson? Because Korach had the same mentality. Korach was the wealthiest man to ever live. He was the richest person in the world. Till today, when you want to say that somebody is rich, you say Asher Kmo Korach. He was as rich as Korach. He's as wealthy as Korach. Not only was he rich, but he was very well honored. He was one of the highest. He was one of the most respected people in the time of the Midbar. He was also one of the carriers of the Aron. Imagine carrying the Aron HaKodesh. He was one of the carriers. He's one of the ones that physically was touching it. Not only that, he even had Ruach HaKodesh. He reached one of the highest spiritual levels that a person can get. And yet, with all that, having the wealth, having the stature, having the prestige, having the high position in society, being able to be holy, carry Aron HaKodesh, Ruach HaKodesh, yet still he says, all this is not worth it for me unless Aaron HaKohen, that has the Kohen Gadol, is going to forego his position and give it to me. All that wasn't enough for him. He says, all of this is not worth it for me if I can't be the Kohen Gadol. And on that night, if you go to Pasuk Perek Tet Zayin, Pasuk Yud Zayin, on that night, he started to pitch. He started to pitch this whole story. It says over there, Pasuk Yud Tet, Vayakel aleim korach et kol ha'eda al petach moed. Pasuk Yud Tet, Rashi says that Korach took all the Jewish people. Bedivrei letzanut, he started to make a mockery, started to make a joke of Moshe and Aharon. Kol halayla hu alach hashvatim upita otam. The entire night he went to all the tribes and he started to persuade them. And what does he tell them? Kezvurim atem sha'alai levadi ani makpid. He says, don't think that I'm doing this only for myself. Eni makpid ela bishvil kulchem. The reason why I'm doing all this, it's not for me. It's not because I want this status in society or this position of Kohen Gadol. I'm doing this for you. And the reason why I'm doing this for you is because Elu ba'in v'notnim et kol ha'gdulot. Because this Moshe and Aharon, they're coming, they're taking all the highest position. This guy is the leader, the other one is the Kohen Gadol. Lo ha'malchut v'la'achiv ha'kehuna. And until they believe them, and there's a midrash that talks a little bit more about the details of the story that he gave them. In other words, Korach is saying, this is not for me. I'm doing this for you. Interesting. Because he was able to convince 250 of the most important people of that generation into a suicide mission. And how is that? A Kohen Gadol is only one position. only one person can be a Kohen Gadol. And it was handpicked by Kadosh Baruch Hu. Aaron HaKohen, he's the one that's going to be a Kohen Gadol. And in order to replace him, that means that only one person can replace him. And Korach was able to convince himself, 250 of the heads of Am Yisrael, plus Datan ve'Aviram, that they are going to be able to take over that position. And what is going to decide? The Ketoret, the incense offering. And we know that the incense offering is a very, very sensitive offering. If you don't do it the right way, and if you're not the right person, it kills you. And at the same time, it has the power to save lives. It's a very, very interesting situation over here. But the most interesting is that everybody's willing to die. Every single person is willing to die in order to get that position. So they are all united right now in the movement against Moshe, against Aharon. But tomorrow, should one of them win that position, they could care less if everybody else dies. Collateral damage. You knew what you were getting into. Korach was able to convince 250 of the most important people of Am Yisrael to be willing to give up their life. And they were all convinced that they were actually going to be the Kohen Gadol, and everybody else was going to die. Imagine, how is it possible that every single person could think that he could be a Kohen Gadol? And all this in order to gain prestige, to gain the honor, to gain the position at the end of the day. So, to recap, we have important people within the society, leaders, heads of tribes, community leaders, ready to go convince a large group of people, Am Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael, the whole nation, to go against the land of Israel that God recommended, and to go against Moshe, the greatest leader that we've ever had in our time, and at any cost. At any cost, even if it was at the cost of their lives. And what would that be? Because they all had an ulterior motive. They all had a hidden agenda. The Meraglim, the spies, what did they say? We're not going to go to Israel. Why? Amalek is there. The giants is there. The land is eating up its people. What was the hidden agenda? It wasn't all that. It was, let's stay the elite of Am Yisrael. When we go to Israel, we're going to lose this position. Let's stay in the desert. We're in the desert. We're honorable. We're heads of state. We're heads of tribes. That was their hidden agenda. They didn't care about all that. Korach va'adato, that we just learned. We see, what does he say? He gathers all of them all night. This is not for me. I don't need this. I have everything. I'm doing this for you. It's not fair what Moshe is doing. It's not fair what Aaron is doing. The reason why I'm fighting this fight, it's for you. It's for your advantage. It's so you can benefit. So you cannot. So you not get disadvantage over here in the desert or in Eretz Yisrael. I'm doing this for you. Moshe is corrupt and money hungry. I'm here to protect you. Now, the hidden agenda behind Korah is, I want it all. What did Korah want? He wanted the money, he wanted the power, he wanted the status, and he wanted the top role possible in the desert to be Kohen Gadol. He's convincing them that he's doing it all for them. Hidden agenda, he wants it all. All this is not worth it for me if I can't have it all. Now, the reason why we took the example of the Meraglim and Korach va'adato, because you can't help but see that this entire story of the leaders that had ulterior motives is actually playing out in today's headlines. If you turn on the news, you can see that things have changed. We used to trust the people in power. We voted them in. I mean, most of the time they wouldn't keep all of their promises, but we would trust them to protect us, to give us a sense of trust, a sense of safety, whether it was on the level of a president, a mayor, a senator, that they had our best interest in mind. We believed that, we felt that, we needed that. Not only the people that were voting in, even the people that deliver the news to us, just like the way that the Miraglim delivered the news to us, or just the way that Korach pitched to us that rhetoric. We used to, we had trusted people delivering the news to us. Back in the days, a news reporter or people that reported the news were honorable, trustworthy, honest. We trusted them to report to us the happenings of the land, just like the Miraglim. Nowadays, politics has become a joke. Politicians have become jokers, actors, pawns. They all go on TV convincing us that they have our best interest, public safety and peace. That's what they're concerned with. Yet, we also see that the media cherry picks the worst possible news to broadcast. We have thousands of new COVID cases. There's thousands of more deaths. There's a second wave coming, just selling fear. Why not report how many people healed? How come they have yet to one time report how many people are healing, how many people survived, how they survived? It's incredible. You have to go to like some B-level news reporters, social media reporters in order to get some truth nowadays. I'll give you an example. Here in Florida, where I live, in April and May, there were 25,000 cases of COVID, and 2,500 people died from it. Those are bad numbers. Those are very, very strong numbers. And that's for April and May, in 2 months. In 1 month, in this month alone, June, 70,000, okay? That's almost triple the amount of cases. How many people died? 300. In 2 months, they had 2,500. In 1 month, with triple the amount of cases, only 300 people died. You think they report that? That's not good news. They don't want to report that. They'd rather report riots. They'd rather report all the negative things that are going on and looping it because it's good eye candy. People like to watch that. Politicians, they're promising public safety and legislation that benefits all, yet they allow riots and public destruction in their districts. So disappointed in de Blasio. I mean, this guy talks about protecting people and caring about the people in his district, yet he let people destroy New York City for days. And when confronted, they say, let them air out their grievances. It's healthy. Are you serious? Are you serious? We trusted you to put you in office. They curbed the police forces from doing their jobs, accommodating nightly chaos sessions, cities taken over by thugs, citizens living in fear. Do they really care, or is it just lip service? The people in power, is it what they're saying on the news, or do their actions speak louder than words, or a lack of action? I was really, really surprised to see that our president stepped up to do a bailout package. I thought it was a great thing for the people that are struggling, a large portion of the United States, a lot of the population of the United States, almost the statistic is that 70 to 80% of Americans don't have more than $1,000 in their bank account. Almost everybody's living hand to mouth. The stimulus package was a great thing for people that can't withstand being out of work for more than a week or two. Yet, while he's trying to get the money as quickly as possible into the hands or into the pockets of the needy, it can't get signed. There's a holdup. What's the holdup? The Democrats need to stick something in between. Oh, we'll sign off on the stimulus package if you sign off on the abortion clause, if you sign off on this special funding for NPR, if you sign off on all they keep burying it. One of the biggest problems that we had with the stimulus package is that we couldn't agree with all the things that they stacked underneath it. Come on, Democrats. What's going on? What's the hidden agenda? What's beneath the surface that we're not seeing? Trump, one of the greatest presidents on paper. You don't have to like him, but on paper, unemployment is down, jobs are up, stock market is booming. He's tough on rogue governments. He bailed on bad deals from previous presidents. He's a great friend to Israel. I mean, on paper, he really looks good. I mean, let the numbers speak for themselves, regardless of whether you like his style or if you like what he's about or not. On paper, he's doing phenomenal. However, they tried to impeach him, just like Korach tried to impeach Aaron Cohen, just like he tried to impeach Moshe Rabbeinu. He's doing a great job. He saved us from Chet HaEgel, from all these different mistakes that we were doing in the desert. Moshe Rabbeinu was the one that bailed us out over and over and over again. All of a sudden, you try to impeach him. Trump is doing amazing things. You're trying to impeach him. Nobody's been able to do what he's done in 4 years. You want to get rid of him? Why? What's the hidden agenda? Why can't you let him ride out his 4-year term? Why don't you take it to the people, let him vote him in or out again? What is the problem? This constant scrutiny for the most minute and trivial things that he does. And you see that every single person on the news, they're all willing to go down just for him not to succeed. Just like Korach mentality. They're all willing to go all the way with the craziest tactics and antics that they're doing just for him not to succeed. It's an old story. It's in this week's Parashat HaShavua. You see, or last week's Parashat HaShavua. You see, Korach, people that are in power, willing to go against a successful leader. For what? For a hidden agenda. And the biggest hidden agenda of them all, the ones that little by little we're starting to see a little bit more information about it, the deep state, the world's elite that have all these politicians and movements in their pockets as they make a push for a new world order. You have to search long and hard for the truth nowadays. You have to be on the lookout for everyone's hidden agendas. Politicians, heads of state, world leaders, influencers. And the more you dig, the more you will find that they are all interconnected. It used to be 6 degrees of separation. It used to be that, if you speak to a person and you ask him, who do you know? By the time you get to the 4th or 5th or 6th person, you find the connection of how you guys are connected. Nowadays, all the corrupt people that are in office are not 6 degrees of separation, maybe 1 or 2. They're all interconnected, interlaced. Look up Illuminati, look up Freemasons, look up Luciferians, look up Deep State, look up New World Order, look up 5G, look up world domination, conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories of the past are today's truths, are today's headlines. Back in the days, we used to laugh about it and say, what are you talking about? Well, they finally got to the point where they're making their big push. And while they're all holding signs of this is for the best, It's all for you. I'm doing this for you. It's for your best interest. They're serving no one else but themselves. The leaders of this generation are only concerned in themselves. It's an elite group that only care about them and staying in power. I can't even watch the news in the past 2 years since what's happened with the Democratic Party. It's just sickening. And as the leaders have a hidden agenda and the future is in their hands, and we see that little by little, a lot of our power is being taken away from us. Don't do this, don't do that, stay home, don't move, don't go. This is all voluntary confinement. But in reality, it's a mental exercise of getting you there. Because soon, the world's elitists are going to make a big push. They're selling the lies. They're selling us the lies. They want us to believe it's for our best. But in reality, they only care about themselves. They all have the Korach mentality. They all have the Meraglim mentality. It's evident. It's evident. And along the way, they're constantly picking up another group of people that believe them. Just like the Meraglim had a group of people that believed them, and they all had to die in the desert. Just like the Mitonenim, the ones that complained in the desert. We see that they also picked up a group of Jews with them. There's always going to be a group of people that are going to believe the lies and go with it. Unless we stop acting like sheep, or better yet, unless we stop acting like lobsters. And why lobsters? If you ever want to know how to cook a lobster, this is very, very interesting. A lot of people take live lobsters and they put them in a pot of boiling hot water. And the lobster has the technology to bring up its body temperature to match the hot water. That's how God created the lobsters. Now, as the temperature increases, the lobster increases its body temperature. And it keeps doing that. As the water gets hotter, it increases its body temperature to match. As the water gets hotter, it increases its body temperature to match. In other words, it just keeps doing that until the water gets so hot that the lobster brings its temperature to that temperature and kills itself. That's how a lobster kills itself or cooks itself. Internally, it makes itself okay with its surroundings until it dies. How do we see that in today's world? Well, you see, everybody's saying, it's the new norm. It's the new norm. It's the new norm. Everybody's a lobster right now. They're raising their tolerance level to the new craziness, to the new norm. And as things get crazier and crazier, day to day, week to week, month by month, what do? They adjust themselves. It's the new norm. It's the new norm, just like the lobster. And then later on, as it goes to a level that it's the new norm. It used to be just riots. It used to just be pandemic. Now, who knows what's coming up? Until eventually you find yourself dead. Because you become numb to what society is feeding you and become numb to not acting on it, just following, acting like sheep. Both in the story of the Meraglim, of the spies, their end result was said, get us out of here. Let's go back to Israel. Let's go back to Egypt. In the story of the Erev Rav, when they ran away from Har Sinai and they complained about the food, they said, get us out of here. Take us back to Egypt. Both times, their gut instinct was, take us back to Egypt. Why? Egypt was the familiar. Egypt was what they were used to. Egypt was the old way of life. They don't want to deal with the new challenges. Take us to how it used to be. Take us to where we were comfortable. Take us to where we were comfortably numb. We want to go back there. But in reality, there is no turning back. This is the new norm. And if you're going to sit back as a sheep and let the leaders that are in power right now do what they do, as they all have a hidden agenda, we're going to be that dead lobster. That's why it's a very, very important time right now not to be sheep, but to be individuals, to be leaders, even if you're a leader in your own home, even if you're a leader just to your family and friends, even if you're just a leader to your family and friends and to people in your community. And if you have a much larger influence and you can go further than that, that's fine. But the world doesn't need sheep right now. It needs leaders in the home, leaders in the community, leaders in the world. Because the leaders that we have in office right now, leaders that are around us, are all with hidden agendas. We detailed it in this lesson. We've given you some advice on where you can search out to see where these leaders are connected and interconnected and interlaced, and what their end game is. And at the end of the day, it's the emet. As the Gemara says, we are living in olam hasheker. This is the world of lies. The challenge of a Jew coming here, holding on to the only thing that's true, which is the Torah, the only thing that's considered emet in this world. And to be in the world of olam hasheker, it's never been a greater challenge than this generation. Back in the days, you could still deal with your surroundings, with society, and still be able to, live a normal life and a Jewish life. Nowadays, it's the only way to survive is holding on to the truth, because everything else around is a lie. I usually never talk about politics. None of my classes ever mention anything to do with the news or anything to do with people that are in office or anything like that. It's just not my style. I like to keep it pure Torah. But in the past few weeks, when I was reading the parashiyot, and I scroll through the headlines, I don't try to even read the stories. Every once in a while, I read the headlines of the news in order to see what's going on. It just jumped out at me that what's happening right now is very similar to what happened thousands and thousands of years ago. The faces have changed and the names have changed, but the approach is the same. And as we are in the time of Ikvita de Mashiach, it's very important to stay connected to the Torah. It's very important to stay connected to the truth. And it's very important not to get sucked in to these different stories that are out there that are very convincing. And you can even see that some of our Jews are already convinced in their stories. There's going to be millions and millions of American Jews that are going to vote for the Democrats, that are going to vote for people that are completely against the Jews, completely against Israel. People that are connected to movements like BDS and everything else. I don't like to get political. But at the end of the day, it's up to us to step up and be the leaders, at least in our homes and at least in our communities. And later on, Be'ezrat Hashem will grow to where it needs to grow and where Hashem wants us to be. Hashem v'ayich otchem v'sameach otchem. This particular class has one more part to it, and it's in my opinion, going to be the best installment of the series called The Agenda. It's going to deal with us. We dealt with the Erev Rav, the bad guys. We dealt with the leaders and their hidden agendas, the bad guys. The next installment is going to be about us, because that's the only thing that we really have control of is ourselves and our actions. And that's why I think that the next class is the most important one, because we're going to study the different people that we zoomed in on and how the Jewish people interacted with them. And then past that, we'll talk about what we can do today when we're living in a world where everybody has a hidden agenda. Thank you so much for listening. All right, so let's see here. I know there's a few people here on Zoom. I'll just give a few more minutes if you guys have questions. If not, we will sign off. Okay. Very good. Thank you so much for tuning in. And hopefully we'll see you guys next week with that.
Actually, I had a question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Who's this?
Hi, how
Jose?
are you?
How you
No,
doing, Jose?
Nathaniel. It says Nathaniel was
Oh,
Daniel.
Nathaniel, I see it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't want to keep you here too much. I'm gonna
Go
try
ahead.
to explain myself the best way possible. So
Sure.
when you're talking about Korach, okay, and what the leaders is going on right now in our world, is it like just like Mashiach that has a chance to expose himself and that we need to welcome him? It's the same thing for like Korach. There's people that are, like they're bad energy and they're bad people and they're trying to take control of the world, that we need to expose them, and we never had the chance to. Just like we need, sorry about my kid in the background, like we
Okay.
never had a chance to actually welcome Mashiach like we need to, and we never had a chance actually to expose the bad people like we need to as well, just like today.
So there's three parts in your question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not clear.
We'll do Korah, we'll do Mashiach, and
Yeah.
then we'll do today. So
Yeah.
Korah, he was exposed.
Yeah,
He was
was,
exposed through the Ketoret. The
Okay.
Ketoret put him in check. You're not the one. Neither were 250 of your cohorts, and neither Datan v'Aviram. And not only that, they were also, they were dealt with immediately. Some were burned and swallowed by the ground. So they were definitely exposed, and because and it was very obvious that his opinion was a wrong opinion, and that's why the continuation of the parasha, it details all the perks that a kohen gets. He gets the thigh, he gets the cheek, he gets the shearing. Why would it be? Because Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to say, I chose Aharon, and this is what he's getting, and I'm backing it up. Right after Korach, there's a list of the things that they're supposed to benefit from, as Hashem giving a testimony that Aaron has been chosen, and this is what he's getting, which is completely the opposite of Korach, of what he was pitching to them. It's as if Hashem koshered Aaron. That's number one. Welcoming Mashiach, you're tying into the end of my lesson when I said to be a leader in your house, to be a leader in your community, and then everything else will work itself out. Nobody needs you to fix the world. Fix yourself, fix your family. If you're able to fix a little bit of your community, you've done your job, and I'll tell you why. Mashiach, he's not here to save us. Mashiach does not come to save the Jewish people. Mashiach comes when the Jewish people save themselves. He just becomes the leader of the Jewish people that save themselves. And what does it mean, save themselves? When the Jewish people have gotten to the point that they are in a mindset of En od milvado, En lanu milshaen ela Avinu shebashamayim, when we realize that it's all Hashem, everything is from Hashem, there's nothing but Hashem. When we have the Achdut, when we connect to the Torah, when we do proper teshuvah, when we, in reality, redeem ourselves, when we get to that point where we are actually redeeming ourselves, then Mashiach says, okay, now I am a proper leader for you. Now I'm actually a person who can lead you. But if we are not getting there on our own, he's not coming to for people that don't save themselves. That's welcoming Mashiach, okay? That's what welcoming him is when we did the work, we are worthy, we merited, and now we're saying, Mashiach, we're ready for you, come now, and Mashiach comes. And the Gemara says, Mashiach b'miyad, he comes immediately when we do teshuvah, when we do chasadim, immediately, instantly. That's welcoming Mashiach. The flip side to it is that we're not going to welcome Mashiach. And chas v'shalom, that it should not be like this, but that Jewish people as a whole didn't do all the work, didn't do all the job, and they really are in trouble. And he is really coming to save us. Then what? It's not welcoming Mashiach. Then that's then that Hashem has
coming out of pity.
Yes.
Yeah. God forbid. Yeah.
God forbid. So we see that there's beito v'achishena. We did a class about it. Beito means that it comes in its proper time. We didn't do the job. Time is up. Game over. Whoever makes it makes. Whoever doesn't make it doesn't make it. and not only that, Hashem will find some way somehow to get people into the Mashiach club. As far as Achishena is when we are become proactive, when we proactively do teshuvah, unite, learn, do acts of kindness, do all the things that we originally were supposed to be from the get-go. You know, the original Jewish formula. If we go back to the original Jewish formula, then Mashiach says, oh, okay, these people deserve Mashiach. It is the time of Mashiach. Let me bring it. But if it's not that, then it's the flip side. So welcoming Mashiach is what we all want, but it's a little bit of hard work.
And ask you a last question. Sorry, is it like I joined the Freemason? Is that forbidden for a Jew?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why did you join it? For what?
Why did I join? Unfortunately, I guess it's just because I found it interesting. Like, you know, like just like the Torah, I find that there's a lot of things in the Torah that's all about signs. It's all about like stories. And I thought maybe it's another knowledge of something. Now, I'm not talking to you about Illuminati and all these, you know, there's really a bad section of that, like in Hollywood and stuff like that. But this is more Freemason, of like people that build things, that construction. It's like a fraternity of people that are educated, that build themselves on history. So I thought maybe it would be interesting to find out what it was. And unfortunately, there's a few Jews in there, you know? So I thought it was okay.
A lot of Jews.
But I really enjoy your courses. And I think that I found myself, as we say, I really enjoy you. So I'm asking you this question very openly. So I'm going to take your advice.
Rav Ovadia Yosef says that a person who's part of the Freemasons cannot complete a minyan.
Okay, so I should be out of it right away.
Because they say that they're called, he says over there, Echad mehabonim, right? Mehabonim, they're called the Freemasons, the builders, he calls them habonim. לא יכול להצטרף למניין. He says over there, and that's what's interesting about it. Do you go to shul in Rosh Chodesh?
Do you go to shul on Rosh Chodesh?
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you say Hallel?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say a pasuk. Let me know if you remember it.
I'm not.
Even ma'asu habonim hayita lerosh pina. You know that?
Yeah.
Even ma'asu habonim. Who are bonim? The Freemasons.
But the real Masons are. It's not the Masons. The Masons took example from the Jews, Moses and all that. We were the first.
Let me explain the pasuk to you first.
Okay.
Even ma'asu habonim. If you take the word even and you split it up, Aleph Ben, the first son. Who's Beni Bechori? Who does Hashem say he's my firstborn?
Avraham?
No, Am Yisrael. We are. Hakadosh Baruch Hu calls the Jewish nation Beni Bechori. You are my firstborn child. So Even Aleph. Aleph stands for one. Ben, my first son. Aleph Ben. Okay. Even Ma'asu Habonim. My first son, my first Beni Bechori. Am Yisrael Ma'asu. They hated him. Who? Habonim, the Freemasons. The Freemasons hate the Jews.
Really?
Hayita lerosh pina. He says, but this Evan, this rock, in the end is going to be the head, the cornerstone of the world. That's what this.
So those people that are following Freemasons, those are people that are the lefties and all those people that are creating all this chaos in this world, basically. So they're worshiping. They're worshiping the Satan.
In the beginning of the lesson, we said, in order for a lie to work, it needs a little bit of truth. So I know that the way that it works is that every level in fraternities are sometimes privy to information that the other group doesn't know. Together, all that information put together works. But when each part knows one part and they don't know the second part or the third or the fourth or the fifth, they are clueless to the full story. They only have one portion of the story, and that portion of the story serves them and serves the purpose. Later on, as you graduate,
it could be a surprise.
They give you another piece of the puzzle, another piece of the puzzle, until you get.
I heard that when you reach the 33 degrees, that's why I asked you that, because I was like shocked when I heard that, like that it's to worship
Lucifer. That's right. They have over there.
That's why they see the light instead of the truth. We as Jews, we seek the truth, and them they're seeking the light, right? Okay. So you're telling me to get out of there?
I'm telling you to do your own research in the Jewish
I'm just
world
taking your word. I'm just taking your word. That's all.
My word. I can't tell other people what to do, but if you ask me, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it because we know that we don't need to belong to any fraternity.
Yeah, I don't need to, right?
Anytime that you have an extra half hour, or hours in the month, in the week, put it in Torah. That's where it's at. That's the emet. The Freemasons are not only that. If you look a little bit closer to see the origin of the Freemasons, it's Sefer Bereshit. If you see the individuals of where it stemmed from, those were not holy people. It didn't come from a holy sect of people. Over there, there's a whole group, and I think it's Parashat Bereshit. I forgot which parasha it is over there, and it talks about all the people with the music, and all the people with the building, and all the people with the tools, and then it talks about the Nephilim, the angels that fell from the heavens, and with the giant. I mean, all the people that are grouped into that
category.
That's nothing for us. That has nothing to do with you. Not only that, over there they also mention the Molech, this deity that they used to bring sacrifice children to it. They would sacrifice babies or children to it and drink the blood. I mean, that's alive and kicking today in the circle of people that you're mentioning. That's those ceremonies. When you get to the very, very high levels, they do those ceremonies. I mean, I could share a few links.
No, because I heard that there is a masonry that is very, very dark, and then there's masonry that's general in the world, that it's not really what people think. It's just about signs and symbols and stuff like that. But then you have in Hollywood, you have these people that what you call the Illuminati. Those are really what I heard, the devil worshippers.
Yeah.
But
you know what you say? They say, "Lo miduvshech velo mo'oktzech." Not from your honey, not from your steak. Leave me alone.
Okay, you know what? My brother had a wise word. He goes to me, "Why are you getting into this? You're wasting your time. You have Hashem and you have the Torah, and you have the wise word." But I didn't listen.
There you go. Listen to your brother.
My brother, my older brother.
Yeah, you should listen to him. Listen to him. That was good advice.
It was. Unfortunately, I didn't listen. So I'm getting out of it. I appreciate it. I need to ask you that just to get it off my conscience.
Very good, very good. I think you're in a good place. You're listening to some Torah classes, and I think Hashem wanted you to hear this class. It's not by chance or by coincidence. He put the Torah that you need to hear in your ear in order for you to make that decision. You could have easily listened to a different class that could have talked about something else. But right now we're talking about Freemasons, we're talking about Illuminati, we're talking about Torah. There's a handful of people that needed to hear it, and you're one of them.
I hope I didn't take anybody's time. Sorry about that if somebody wanted to ask a question.
Not a problem.
Thanks to Stephen Manfredi. He is a good influence on me. He always sends me the links.
That's
my
Stephen
brother. Manfredi, yeah?
Yeah, I love.
He's like my cousin. It's like it's blood. It's family.
He's a good friend of mine. He's a good person. He's a big influencer. This guy has the power to turn a lot of people on to Hashem and to Judaism, to religion. He just lost his father. I actually I just dedicated. I almost dedicated every lesson of mine to the Ilui Nishmat of his father, at least for the first year. All right,
I really enjoy your classes. You're really
thank you so much,
fun to listen to. Really.
Thank you, brother. All right, all the best. Bye-bye.
All right, to the next one. Thank you. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye.